Um, let's begin. Welcome everyone, and thank you to our special guest for joining us tonight. I'll be presenting the project I've been working on during the UX course and hope you enjoy what I came up with. So we wouldn't be here if there wasn't a problem. As the world became paralyzed overnight due to COVID-19, people had to respond quickly in their day-to-day life and create the new normal. For early educators, this was something that they have never experienced before. Primary schools all around the world were tested with this rapid change. Some succeeded where others failed, and students had become ghosts in the new normal virtual classrooms. For teachers to maintain their students' focus in a peer-to-peer classroom was somewhat challenging, but when they had to do it in a virtual classroom, this had a massive impact on the social and learning developments of students. So why do I care about the future generation having access to education? Personally, I wasn't the most academic student at school. I always found math, science, and English hard. And this gave me low self-esteem. But now as an adult, I can see that everyone learns differently and learns at different paces. So I wonder if students still go through this same experience that I did. During my travels, I went to visit a friend who was working in a refugee camp, and this is where I've witnessed at first hand the abundance of children under the age of 12 missing years of their education. It was heartbreaking. This encouraged me to do some volunteering myself with Riley International. So also seeing this during my travels, I've picked up an interest in the psychological stage in early childhood. Children needed to have love, care, positivity, and support in the early years in life, as this can affect them as adults. In general, I'm a big advocate of education and strongly believe education is the foundation in life, and every human deserves to have this access to an education. So the last couple of weeks, I've done some research and it's been a really interesting journey. I interviewed a variety of teachers from primary school, specialist teachers, sport and music teachers all around the world. The most interesting one was in Germany, where the students had to work together. They got briefed together, work together, and they would have to video record themselves completing the assignment and screen record each other and then submit the work together rather than individually. Also, during the research, I quickly came to realize that there was a divide in primary schools. So you had your juniors and you had your seniors. And it was the juniors that were being affected more by the new normal virtual classrooms. And during my interviews, padding started to appear for the user interviews. So stressed parents equals stressed children. Because there was a massive change, parents didn't know how to homeschool, and anxiety just came over the house, which means stressed children. Teachers started to worry for the children's social motor skills. So if they were a single child, or if English was a second language at home. What else? Children benefit from a routine. And oh no, my battery. Oh, my battery's gonna die. I'm gonna do this quickly. Yeah, children benefit from a routine. Also, children have a super short attention span. So you get the age of a child, you plus or minus 2, and that's how many minutes you have. So if you have a 6-year-old child, then you've got like really 4 minutes to keep their attention before they go off with the fairies. Then juniors need assistance from adults, especially using technology, and especially because juniors are still learning how to read and write. However, during this whole process of the user experience, all the teachers that I interviewed, one thing what was common was fun. When there was fun involved in classes and learning online, they were engaged and they stayed focused. So what type of fun do you bring to a virtual classroom? Positive reinforcement. So the teachers would be like, virtual high five and everyone counting together. And then some teachers wore funny hats or costumes while teaching to keep the students engaged. They also used, some teachers had access to interactive programs with big colorful buttons, and disguised activities with games where the students didn't know they were actually learning. One teacher used different puppets to keep the students focused to learn different subjects. And when they were doing more physical activities such as cutting, pasting, or coloring, this kept the students engaged too. So let's look at the digital platforms that already exist on the market. Here are just a few from the hundreds of programs that teachers and schools can have access to. But what was the key difference between them all? Budget. So private and faith schools could afford to pay a student by student subscription, as budget wasn't an issue. Whereas public schools, they had a very low budget, or in most cases no budget at all, resulting to using free resources. So now knowing budget was a problem for many schools, and there was more public schools that in the world that were that couldn't afford, or a lot of, like I said before, the students started to ghost, and they just didn't appear in class. So that made a lot of teachers worried. But knowing this fact now, I got my light bulb idea, and it was good old Google to begin with. Google's the most popular website in the world, and the most recognized in the world too. So Google also has an existing free platform called Google Classroom. So my idea is to pitch and present to Google Junior Classroom. So with Google Junior Classroom, the difference is original Google Classroom is designed for an older audience who can read and use a computer, where at the moment it's currently not designed for little ones who can't find the keyboard letters quick enough to type their name out on a keyboard. Also, as Google is free, this will allow young students from all walks in life to have access to education. So not only if the human race gets hit by another pandemic, but for children who are in refugee camps, children who live in rural and remote areas, but also children that just go to the day-to-day public schools, everyone will have the chance to learn and not lose those early years in their life, in education. So who is the junior student? These students vary from age 4 to 7. So in Australian curriculum, that's prep to grade 2. Students that don't know how to read or type their name yet. Children who have short attention spans, which is majority of them, because that's just their age and their psychological side of life. And they don't have access to adult support, so mum and dad or an older brother or sister aren't always there to help them. And what features would be included in the junior Google Classroom? So Timmy Timer, who gives kids brain breaks. When I was doing the user interviews, brain breaks are good for students, so that gives them a chance to run around, get some water, stand up, and then they come back and they're focused again. Again, that equation, you get the age minus 2 or 1, and that's how long you have with them. There would also be an audio button to listen to instructions. Because they're at that age where they still don't know how to read or write, there will always be a button where they can listen to instructions instead. They would have an online avatar to give positive reinforcements. So this would, as the student completes a task, they will collect points where they could buy like a costume or complete a game with the avatar. And the app would be used on a tablet, so that intuitive design would be more at hand compared to using a computer where they have to use a mouse and type out keys. So this is an example of what it would look like. Super simple UI, like very straightforward, not many buttons. There'll be a big green button to go. So there's the user, you got Sam Sample and her avatar. And the avatar would say, let's go Sam, and it would animate. And then hello class, again, there's a little audio. If they don't know what to do, they click on that. We'll find Sam Sample, great. And then you hit the continue button. And then we start class. So there's not many buttons to choose from, but Monday, again, the juniors, so pretty straightforward. We start class. And they see what was the task that they have to do today. So they start with maths, they'll watch an instructional video, again with audio or replay button if they don't understand, hit continue, and this would be the workstation. So in the workstation, They would have like a pencil, an eraser, different colors. With the pencil, they could draw the answer, write their answer, or use stickers to apply their answer and hit submit. And then at the end, they would have their positive reinforcement, which would be well done, fantastic feathers, the avatar celebrating, and yeah, so Google Junior Classroom. Thank you for your time and hope you get to see this next time on the Google Suite with the other Google apps.